Here's what you need to know right now. 750,000 people are still without power in freezing temperatures, and 2 more Arctic blasts are about to make this situation way worse. The first Arctic blast hits today with bone-chilling cold driving temperatures 20 to 30 degrees below normal across half the country. The second blast arrives Friday and Saturday, pushing Arctic air all the way to the Gulf Coast and potentially bringing rare snow to Florida. Drop your city in the comments below and I'll tell you exactly when the coldest temperatures hit your area this week. Now let me break down what just happened, because this was one of the most crippling ice storms we've seen in decades. Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas got absolutely hammered, with nearly 750,000 people still without power this morning. Nashville has been devastated with trees down everywhere, power lines ripped apart, and tree limbs crushing homes and blocking roads. People are waking up this morning to temperatures outside in the teens and 20s, while inside their homes it's dropping into the 30s and 40s. This is genuinely life-threatening, and we really need power restored as soon as possible, while frontline workers do everything they can. Unfortunately, this brutal cold is only going to get worse this week, and here's exactly what's coming. We've got an extremely intense Arctic air mass sitting across the central and southern plains right now, extending back into the Midwest and Ohio Valley. This cold air is still surging toward the southeast, while a warm pocket of air continues to hang over Florida, creating a massive temperature contrast. Last night we had a flash freeze event in Huntsville and Atlanta where any liquid water on roadways froze back into ice, catching a lot of people off guard. We warned about this exact scenario on our forecasts and live streams, and unfortunately there were a bunch of accidents in those areas. Over the next few days, this Arctic air mass is going to reload across Canada and then surge south again with even more intensity. By Tuesday, we're looking at a very intense area of cold air centered over the Great Lakes, spinning around an upper-level low-pressure system. As we go into Wednesday and Thursday, things will still be below average across the southern plains and southeast, but then another shot of Arctic air arrives. This second blast is really going to be felt as we go into late Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And notice how far south this Arctic air mass gets. It's going to push as far south as Florida and right along the Gulf Coast, potentially setting up some rare snow chances for areas that almost never see it. Now let me give you city-by-city details so you know exactly what to expect for your specific area over the next week. For Dallas-Fort Worth, you're dealing with single-digit temperatures this morning, but the good news is you'll get above freezing tomorrow afternoon. This is really one of the only chances this entire week to melt some of that ice and snow, so take advantage of it while you can. Little Rock, you're on the cusp of single digits and teens tomorrow morning, then right back to brutally cold by Wednesday and beyond. Fort Smith could hit 0 degrees tomorrow morning, making it one of the coldest mornings of the entire winter season. Nashville, you're going to remain right on the cusp of freezing tomorrow afternoon, which means the ice and snow on the ground isn't going anywhere fast. For those still without power, this is extremely dangerous with temperatures this cold, so locate warming shelters if you need them. Memphis faces similar conditions with very little melting expected through Wednesday, then another deep freeze arrives by the weekend. Tennessee and Kentucky, most areas are unlikely to get above freezing on Wednesday, even with some sunshine helping out. Austin and San Antonio, you'll see some relief tomorrow with temperatures climbing above freezing, but Friday brings the next Arctic blast. Houston, you're on the southern edge of the worst cold right now, but by this weekend, temperatures will drop significantly as Arctic air pushes to the Gulf. New Orleans and Mobile, you could see a widespread freeze by Sunday morning, potentially even threatening to bring snow if moisture arrives. Shreveport and Jackson, you're locked in the coldest zone with temperatures struggling to get above freezing through most of this week. Birmingham and Huntsville, watch out for refreezing tonight and tomorrow night as temperatures drop back below freezing after any brief warm-up. Atlanta, you'll stay cold through the week with another deep freeze arriving Sunday morning when the second Arctic blast reaches its peak. Charlotte and Raleigh, you're looking at prolonged cold with temperatures well below normal, plus a potential offshore system Friday night. Columbia and Charleston, South Carolina, could see some interesting weather Friday and Saturday as an offshore low develops east of the Carolinas. Richmond and Norfolk, you're in the zone for potential snow from that coastal system, and honestly, that's a lot better than more freezing rain. Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, temperatures will be brutally cold all week, and Maryland could see temperatures as much as 50 degrees below average by Friday. Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, you're looking at sub-zero temperatures continuing through the week, with wind chills making it feel even colder. New York City and Boston, the Northeast stays locked in brutal cold, with sub-zero mornings being common throughout the entire week. Buffalo and Syracuse, you could see some lake effect snow bands off Lake Ontario Tuesday and Wednesday that stack up accumulation in localized areas. Detroit and Cleveland, you're dealing with sub-zero temperatures all across the Midwest, with negative 10 degrees possible by late Tuesday night. Chicago and Indianapolis, the Ohio Valley will be absolutely brutal, with temperatures as low as negative 10 degrees by early Wednesday morning. Cincinnati and Columbus, Pennsylvania could see temperatures as much as 50 degrees below average by Friday, which is downright crazy. St. Louis and Kansas City, you're locked in well below normal temperatures through the entire week with no significant warm-up in sight. Oklahoma City and Tulsa, you got hit hard by ice, and now you're dealing with prolonged freezing temperatures, keeping that ice locked in place. Wichita and Topeka, temperatures will remain 20 to 30 degrees below normal as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday across Kansas. Minneapolis and Green Bay, you're dealing with life-threatening wind chills that could reach 30 to 40 degrees below zero, so bundle up. Now, here's where it gets really interesting with Florida, because this second Arctic blast is going to push cold air farther south than we've seen in a long time. Jacksonville and Tallahassee, you're looking at wind chills in the single digits and teens by Sunday morning, which is extremely rare. Orlando could see temperatures around 8 to 15 degrees for wind chills, and we could have a widespread freeze all the way down toward Miami. This would be the first time in a long time we've had a widespread freeze extending almost all the way to southern Florida. Tampa and Fort Myers, you're going to feel this second Arctic blast big time, with freezing temperatures possible Sunday morning. Pensacola and Panama City, you're right on the Gulf Coast, where Arctic air meets moisture, potentially creating snow chances. Now let me break down the temperature outlook day by day so you can plan ahead for what's coming. Today we're dealing with sub-zero temperatures all across the Midwest and single digits all the way down near Dallas-Fort Worth. Freezing temperatures extend as far south as extreme southern Texas and Mexico, and right along the Gulf Coast just outside of Tallahassee. For those with ice and snow on the ground, not much of that is going to melt today, because most areas will remain below freezing. Tomorrow morning is going to be extremely cold, with 0 degrees possible in Fort Smith and Little Rock, on the cusp of single digits. All across the Northeast, we're looking at sub-zero temperatures, so tomorrow morning is going to be very chilly no matter where you are. Luckily, tomorrow afternoon brings some relief for Dallas-Fort Worth, Paris, Texas, and many locations hit hard by the ice storm. This is really good news because it's one of the only chances this entire week to get above freezing and start some melting. By Wednesday morning, freezing temperatures go all the way back down toward the Gulf Coast, with most of Ohio reaching sub-zero. Wednesday afternoon looks rough for Tennessee, Kentucky, and Northeast Arkansas because we're unlikely to get above freezing. Luckily, there will be some sunshine, which helps melt some ice and snow, but it's not going to be enough to get rid of all of it. Problems are going to continue all the way through Wednesday, maybe even Thursday, before the next Arctic air mass arrives Friday and Saturday. Saturday morning is going to be extremely cold all across Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, and almost the entire Ohio Valley. By Sunday and Monday, temperatures remain very cold, and we could have that widespread freeze all across Florida on Sunday morning. Sunday morning could easily be one of the craziest mornings we've seen in terms of cold weather this entire winter season. All across the Southeast, we could be down into single digits and teens for wind chills, which is absolutely brutal. Most of Florida will be in that category too, around 8 to 15 degrees in Orlando, Jacksonville, and Tallahassee. The Ohio Valley and Northeast will be dealing with bone-chilling cold pretty much all week, but Sunday will definitely take the cake. Now let's talk about what's coming after this brutal cold, because there's actually some interesting snow chances developing.
The good news is the next few days are going to be a lot quieter than what we've been dealing with all weekend and into early this week.
Tuesday brings a small Alberta Clipper moving across the Great Lakes that could bring light to moderate snow in Michigan and the Northeast. This isn't going to be anything significant, maybe just a couple inches of snow, nothing like the major storm we just experienced. We could get some lake effect snow bands off Lake Ontario or Lake Michigan on Tuesday and Wednesday that stack up snow in localized areas. Wednesday brings a little atmospheric river event to Washington State with heavier rain and snow to higher elevations, but that's very localized. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday is when things start to get more interesting as that second Arctic air mass makes its way down to the south. On the south side of this system, we'll have the possibility of a little bit of snow, though it's going to be very light in most areas. Tennessee, Kentucky, Virginia could see some light snow, along with areas like Nebraska, South Dakota, and Wyoming. Friday and Saturday is when we could see snow make its way all the way down here toward the Gulf Coast, which would be pretty rare. The good news is this will not be as large as what we just saw this weekend. It'll be nowhere near that magnitude. With that said, there is a possibility we could see some isolated locations get maybe a winter storm this weekend. It's not impossible. Right now, the GFS model is showing the possibility of an offshore low developing just east of North Carolina on Friday night. This might bring a little bit of snowfall to areas like North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia, and honestly, that's a lot better than freezing rain. Further to the west, there could be some snow flurries in Oklahoma and Texas as cold air moves through. By Saturday, we could see some snow develop over the Carolinas, and there's even a possibility of snow right along the Gulf Coast. Whether we get Gulf Coast snow depends on the evolution of how our high-pressure system develops and how far south it goes. It also depends on whether we get an offshore low-pressure system developing, because if that happens, we definitely have snow possibilities. The GFS model has been showing mainly an East Coast system as of right now, but it's been flipping back and forth. Sometimes it shows a Gulf Coast event, sometimes an East Coast event, so there's definitely a snow possibility game happening this weekend. At least for right now, there's no major winter storm on the horizon. Nothing as massive as what we just experienced. But it's definitely something to keep an eye on as we get closer to the end of the week and models get better clarity. Looking at the probabilities of seeing at least 1 inch of accumulating snowfall next weekend, the odds aren't terrible in the mid-Atlantic. We're ranging from 20 to 40% chance with the highest probabilities in the higher elevations. Down toward the Gulf Coast, we're at about a 3% chance right now, which honestly means there's a better chance you and your ex get back together than getting snow. But those odds can definitely change as we get closer to this event, so don't count it out completely just yet. Drop your city in the comments again and let me know what you're seeing on the ground right now, especially if you're dealing with power outages. I'll be monitoring the models closely every single day this week and providing updates as we track this second Arctic blast. If you found this forecast helpful, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss daily updates on this developing pattern. We'll have another video either tomorrow or Wednesday breaking down the latest model runs and any changes to the weekend snow potential. The bottom line is this: we're locked in brutal cold for at least another week, with the worst of it hitting Sunday morning. Stay safe, bundle up, check on your neighbors, and if you're without power, please locate warming shelters immediately. We'll see you in the next forecast with all the latest on this dangerous cold pattern.